Oh, okay. I see your notes here. Um, Once you put the code in, hopefully this is what would happen. I'm sharing my screen right here. And there would be a place for you to participate. Okay, well, this is a little bit experiment. So thanks. If someone figures it out, we can we'll make it all work. Yeah, I'm missing the box as well, seeing where that is. We'll figure that out because it'd be fun to see what people say. And if we can't use the Wordle, just type in a couple of your notes what you're thinking of right now. What are kinds of skills students will need for future jobs? Just go ahead and put that in the chat window because we have some great guests on here and some really cool, wonderful students that are going to be talking a little bit about that along with some school leaders. And if the meeting SIFT isn't working for us, go ahead and just use the chat window for that. What kinds of skills will students need for future jobs? We're going to get rolling here with the folks that we have on. Thanks for everybody joining today. My name's Dave Den Hartog, and I work with the Green Schools National Network. We are excited to provide this webinar for today. And thanks to you all that are putting some things in that chat window, coming back to that initial question, what kinds of skills will students need for future jobs? I work here at GSNN and am fortunate to be our Director of Innovative Learning. I get to work with a lot of schools and districts across the country and am find it a lot of fun to learn with you all. And today we have I think a really packed, full, fun agenda that we have some special guests from both Whitefish School District, Ryder and Caden, and then Common Ground High School. Joel, Crystal, Anna, Darlene, and Noor, thank you for joining us for today. We're excited to have you. And I know that our participants are excited to hear your perspectives about this work and about the career and technical education and the future of green jobs. I'll give you a little overview of GSNN. We'll jump into some skills for the future, and then we'll hear from Whitefish. We'll have a quick breakout room, and then we'll hear from Common Ground and have a breakout room then too. So if you do have questions, feel free to ask your questions via the chat window. And this URL at the bottom of this particular slide, sorry, I'm going to go back, is a way to get this slide deck so that you could get a copy of everything that's in this slide deck. If you want to reference it or look at it later, you can put this into your own tab and follow along the slides if you'd like to do that. I'll put that in the chat window here in just a minute also, if people need that. One of the things we wanted to start with is just to highlight where things are going with the future of jobs. And most of you know and see and hear and feel this, but the skills for the future, about 5 years ago, the World Economic Forum was doing some large-scale surveys to think about what people and employers are looking for. And some of these things are not surprising to you, what they're thinking about. But what I do find interesting is where things have gone just in 5 years, what people are looking for. This complex problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, where in 15, creativity was number 10. Now it's moved up to number 3. I think we're going to continue to see that grow. And but it's just fascinating to think about how these jobs and things for the future, what kind of skills and type of things we're in the process of looking for. I think you'll hear some of that emerge from our guests from today too. Many of you are familiar with Green Schools National Network as a national organization. We use the green print, these 5 core practices, to kind of guide our work with schools and support around curriculum, stewardship, service, sustainable facility design, health and well-being, and strong partnerships. And all of these do connect with this work with future jobs. But this is where our guidepost, when we're thinking about creating green, healthy, sustainable schools that are also focused on regeneration. Also very quickly, just about our work, We support and work with schools across the country and districts, but we also have some affiliates and other folks that are doing work together. We produce this Green Notes, which is really an awesome resource for you all that comes out monthly for our members and for leaders, and has some really awesome highlights, things to check out, support you all, along with this free online peer-reviewed journal that we produce called the Green Schools Catalyst Quarterly. I'd highly recommend checking it out if you haven't done so already. Right now, we're working with schools all over the country. Today, we have folks from Connecticut on, along with Montana, but we have partners spread across the country, and it's a growing network. We're always looking for new partners that might be interested in this type of work together. But it's been a fun ride, and really value our school partners and district partners. I'm skipping a couple things. I want to show you this resources page. It's something new in this time and period that we're in right now, recognizing the importance of having good resources for us to do distance learning. So GSNN now has a site where we've done some curation of some really good resources that we like out there, and we try to pare it down just to things that are really powerful. So if you're an educator or a person that's creating good lessons with students, this is something to check out if you haven't recently. And as a lead into hearing first from Whitefish, we know that this is true. The future is bright for green jobs. There's a lot of growth and a lot of things that are happening, skill sets along with industries that are out there. This is going to continue to be on the rise. So these two organizations, Whitefish School District along with Common Ground, have some great examples of how they're tapping into and really working through this lens of what the future looks like as far as jobs and opportunities for young people. And so without further ado, I'm going to turn the screen over to Ryder at Whitefish and let him introduce himself and his guest that he has on, and to jump into the work that they're doing. Thanks for being on, Ryder.
Thank you very much. Okay. So yeah, I should be able to take over now. Perfect. Got it. All right. Well, I'm going to introduce myself and also introduce Caden Means. He'll be on here in a couple minutes. And Dave, I guess I would ask, could you help me be very disciplined with time management so that I don't run long? So how much time do we have currently?
You have about between 12, 15 minutes or so.
Okay.
Right.
So 2:12, we'll wrap up
By 2:30. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And I'll just kind of balance this off. So the way that I'll present this is I'll share a few pieces, and then I'll have Caden jump in, and then I will kind of summarize that. But Caden, feel free to play in at any point and interject with any ideas. All right, great.
Sounds good.
All right, well, thank you. I'm going to get this in presentation mode. So the points that David brought up were salient insofar as I absolutely feel there is a strong junction between green careers and the role that students play. If you look at the emphasis of school reformation over the last, honestly, 200 years, you can see that it's really driven by economic factors. Whether that was the formation of the modern conception of schools at the turn of the century, in the early 1900s, and it was about the development of factory workers, and thus the subsequent model of schooling in terms of bells and rows and courses and specialization. Whether it was, the realization of Sputnik soaring through the air and America freaking out that we didn't have adequate scientists and mathematicians. Once again, education responded and created a huge influx of capital as well as initiatives to support the development of those fields. And then I think most recently, well, not as most recently, but probably two other instances historically where we can see the role that education plays in creating a future economy. One was in 1984 with A Nation at Risk, when we saw the Japanese economy surpass the USSR and to become the world's second largest economy. That was a huge impact and a wake-up call for the United States. And once again, we're behind. We're behind in science. We're behind in mathematics. We don't have efficiency measures, so on and so forth. You see the pendulum swing towards schools and the reaction that we undertook. And then now we're seeing a new turning with the tech industry. You see an opening up of schools. You see personalization. You see new tech high. You see this movement towards the creation of Google. And right now, we are at another precipice, and we get to define the narrative moving forward. Do we build citizens and an economy that supports the action that needs to be taken regarding climate change, or do we not? And so I think it's a critical opportunity for us to take a stand as an education entity, as students, to create a responsive workforce, to create a consumer workforce that is able to really internalize the implications of their decisions. So we're at the forefront of this. Recently at the Green Schools Conference, I presented on a topic that I thought would have been actually quite challenging and insurmountable, but it was very achievable. And what it was the braiding of social emotional learning competencies in conjunction with CTE and sustainability. Because future employees need to be able to navigate the ambiguity of a changing landscape. They need to be able to have the collaborative skills to work with others. They need to be able to self-direct their learning because there aren't easy answers to the problems we're facing. It's not a binary task anymore. And so I'm excited to share with you one of the projects that we've engaged in Whitefish Schools to embody that. I'll preface this just briefly with emphasizing that our strategic plan calls for deeper learning. And that was a pursuit that we engaged in as we looked at the Hewlett Foundation and the research that they did, where they looked at the economy, they looked at achievement, they looked at all of the countries doing good work. And they said, what are the common factors that yield those results? And what they identified was the real outcome of learning, the real success, the behavioral dispositions that will get you to a high degree of rigor and academic achievement. Only academic mastery is one of the six. Collaboration, communication, self-directed learning, growth mindset, and critical thinking. Those are those skills that get you there. Because 40% of your seniors that go off to college won't finish their freshman year. And it doesn't have to do with their GPA. It has to do with the fact that they can't navigate their own headspace. They can't ask for help when they need it. Those are the skills that we need to develop to prepare our students to tackle the complexity of issue that is sustainability, which braids together social justice issues, economic factors, as well as our values. So with all of that said, I'll begin my presentation, but I just wanted to set the stage because, you know, my mission statement, our mission statement in Whitefish Schools is the formation of citizens. And I guarantee you yours is as well. There is not a single school district in this country that does not emphasize citizenship development. It doesn't say anything about the ACT score, about what growth rate you need to have between last year and this year. It has to do with citizens. And a responsive citizenry is one that is capable of tackling the challenge of sustainability and specifically climate change. So the ways in which we've accomplished that. Let me check my time. I get so excited. You guys get me fired up. You know these topics get to me. And everybody's smiling there who knows me because they know exactly how I'm baited in this. So I'm going to try and stay focused on time. Whitefish is a small school district. We have 3 schools, about 1,800 students. We're rural relative to most. It's a high achieving place. It's a resort community. We're surrounded 360 degrees by wild, raw wilderness. So our relationship with place is very strong. We have innovative programmings, applied science and technology. We have entrepreneurship and sustainability. We are able to utilize an abundance of resources because those are the values we hold. It really does look that pretty. It seems like it's a filter. It's just pixelated, but I promise you, Whitefish is that beautiful. So just giving you a little sense of place. And this was 2 years ago when we first built our Center for Sustainability and Entrepreneurship. 2-story classroom building, attached 4-season greenhouse, production beds, experimental forest, food forest, wetland, outdoor classroom. Those will be built out on 3 acres. It is intended to be a living laboratory for sustainable energy systems, for sustainable agriculture practices, so that all students can experience learning in a very authentic way to build not just the knowledge and experience with sustainability, but the dispositions and attitudes towards it as well. And the fundamental belief there is not just that you'll influence a child to adopt these values throughout their life, but what I recognize through this journey is they can change behavior now in our community. That third grader who holds their parent accountable to recycling, it's a bitter pill to swallow when you don't represent the values you espouse upon your children. And so we're leveraging that. I wanted to share a little bit about Buddy and how we began that journey. In order to accomplish this, there's no budget line item in Montana that says, oh, build a sustainability center and staff it with an education coordinator and a farm manager. So we had to get real creative real fast. And what we realized is if we could really embody sustainability across the district and conserve our energy and resources, we could save the money that we need to fund these positions. And the numbers worked out. If we can pull off 25% reduction in energy consumption and print paper materials, that works out to be about the cost of these positions. So we've begun a journey that will be a long-term approach to changing our behaviors. So with that, we partnered with an entity called Buddy. And this was not something they came to us with. We went to them. We had to find a solution. And this is a real-time monitoring of energy consumption. And so we linked them up across our buildings. They generously agreed to partner with us and to support our initiative. And the reason for that was when you look at previous energy consumption or energy management plans, you look at a time frame about a month before. And so you're saying, okay, if I do these things and then next month, maybe I'll get there. Well, guess what, people who do diets, how effective is that for you? Oh, if I starve myself and feel miserable for the next month, maybe I'll see a 2-pound gain. Well, guess what? That's why diets don't work, right? Because it's not on the daily basis. I can't turn around tomorrow and say, oh, this is how it benefited me. Yet I can do that with this energy piece. And so students could go online at any point, look at the data, see how their choices are making a change, and further propel the process of behavioral change for them. So I'm going to shift over a little bit and turn it over to Caden at this point, but set the stage for him. We wanted to bring in student-based experiences. We wanted students to drive this process. And so him and another student participated in a year-long internship program in which they went to Seattle, they worked with Buddy, they learned the system, they monitored it, they provided recommendations in conjunction with the energy management plan that the school district created. And I think I'll turn it over to Caden to describe his experience with that, as well as answering the questions that you had, which is what values or what skills are most important to him as he goes on to college next year. All right, Caden.
Thanks, Ryder. Yeah, so as Ryder mentioned, I had the opportunity last year to work with another student and with Buddy. And so one of the big goals with Buddy or with our school was to make sure that the Sustainability Center was running. We wanted it to achieve net zero, but we needed a way to do that. So Buddy was kind of a perfect option for that. And so first we flew out to Seattle and we got to meet with everyone working at Buddy, and we got to learn a little bit. We got to kind of brainstorm different ideas, ways that we could work to make sure that we were achieving what we wanted to do. And that was an awesome experience. I'm so glad I had that opportunity. Following that, we began working or continue to work with the company. And our job, basically, we monitored the system's usage, what energy usage, all of that kind of water usage, everything. And we'd look at those findings that we saw, and we'd try to brainstorm different ways that we could help manage that. And if we saw like high usages, like one thing, for example, we saw like in the doors every morning when students would come into school. The heat system would have to kick in, so it would be using a lot of energy. So we would try to think of ways that we could help with that. And so that just kind of going into what I learned from this, that was just a huge, just having a hands-on experience, being able to see, like, put this actually into practice and see how we take the data and then use that to think of new ideas, ways that we can help fix these problems. That was, I think, a huge learning experience for me and really valuable. Also, just the opportunity to work with a tech startup like this, I think, is just something that kids my age really don't get an opportunity to do very often. And so I'm thankful that I had this opportunity. Just looking at my notes real quick, sorry. Yeah, just working with Buddy just really helped me to see how my actions directly influenced and affected things in the building. Along with that, I guess just adding to that, just it helped me see just other opportunities in this field, like I think, sustainability, earth sciences, all that kind of thing is something I've always been interested in, but working with Buddy has really allowed me to see like what opportunities are out there and what kinds of things are available for me, because I think that's something that really I personally didn't know a whole lot about, and I'm glad going into college I'll have kind of a mindset of things that I can aim for instead of just kind of, I'm just getting this degree, like I know what I'm aiming for afterwards. I think that helped provide some insight on that.
Great. Thank you, Caden. No, I think that's excellent. I mean, one thing that I saw in Caden's journey and experience there was, when Caden started high school, Caden's wicked bright and is pretty good to go with mathematics. And so what do people in high school do when they're good at math?
On that, I guess.
They're told to go into engineering, right? And so, yeah, the other thing that's really important about Caden is that he's also super creative. He's a really amazing musician as well. And so, when you go into an entity like Buddy, he was able to experience the software engineering side, the programming side, but he also saw the designers. He saw the business side. He saw probably one of 7 different career pathways that he could have a sense of, oh, I could slot into any one of these. And so it wasn't just limited because he had high math aptitude that he was going to do a specific career. And so recognizing that and seeing the flexibility of it and understanding that it's changing, and he could position himself to have maybe a couple of those. Maybe he gets the computer science degree and also the design degree. And then he's got a toolkit in both of those areas to make him more marketable as an employee. So lots of options and potential pathways. And that was a real win in terms of the CTE and the future career pathways, is recognizing the interconnections that exist in these startups. And so that was a big piece of ours. Just briefly, professionalizing things for these students. They were accountable to it. They met on a weekly basis. These people weren't educators. They weren't holding their hand. They weren't talking down to them. They were thrown into a professional work experience and they thrived. Also the challenges associated with things in terms of missing a deadline or being overwhelmed or being really stressed. I know that was conversations we had with Caden in terms of, my teammate and how is that coming together? I'm really busy. I've got these 5 things going on. That's part of the professionalization as well, and changing deadlines and adjusting things and working with that. It was a profound learning experience. And, I think what's important to this is that it wasn't about the outcome. It was about the process. And so I'm very grateful to have worked with Caden on this. And with that, I think we accomplished a great deal that we can then leverage to move forward. So anyways, with all of that said, I think I'll wrap up our side of things, just recognizing that, there are opportunities and that schools can take those chances. But I would contend that it really does need to be as engaged and authentic as possible. If Caden hadn't had that touch point experience in Seattle, if he hadn't worked with professionals in the field, if we hadn't taken those steps and we just created a simulation it wouldn't have been nearly as robust of an experience for him and the company, as well as providing us a pathway for how we can move forward. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Ryder. That was wonderful. Thank you also, Caden. It's always great to hear from students and get your perspective. It's a good way to summarize some of these key things, Ryder, and things that you all have been able to do there in Whitefish, and bring a platform, but also bring an opportunity for young people to go deeper and to think about how to use their, like you said, wicked bright skills and put them to use, but also think about where that leads them to in their futures. So that was fantastic. I really appreciate that. Lots of good stuff there. I'm gonna share my screen again. We were gonna jump into some breakout rooms here and see if we can have folks talk a little bit about what they're doing and how that's working. But I think what might be a little bit for time-wise, we might just jump in and have you think about these questions, and once again do a response via the chat window. What connection does this have to the work that your school district is doing? So what you heard about from Whitefish, how does that relate to what you're hearing not only in your school, some of you are outside of schools, what are you hearing within schools? What rose to the top, what you just heard Caden and Ryder just say? So feel free to chat there a little bit in the chat window about highlights or things that you're hearing from Ryder and Caden. But we're gonna switch to Common Ground and give them a good chunk of time. We have Joel and Crystal and Anna all on with us now. And so we are gonna also hear from a couple videos from a couple students. And Common Ground's doing some amazing work. They're out in Connecticut, which Joel and Crystal will tell you about. But we're really thankful to have them on. But take a minute and do respond again to this question via the chat window. What connection does this have to the work that your school and district is doing? So maybe you have something to share that highlights similar type of work, or what are you pulling from what you just heard from Ryder and Caden? Would love to hear that. And with that, I think I'm gonna ask Joel, go ahead and just jump right in here, Joel and Crystal, and then I'll stop sharing and you guys can highlight things that you guys wanna pull forward.
Cool. That's showing up okay for everybody? Awesome. So really great to hear from you, Ryder and Caden, excuse me. And I'm really feel excited to be here with Crystal and Anna, two of my amazing compatriots and community members at Common Ground in New Haven, Connecticut. And we're gonna bring in the voices of a couple of other students who thought they were going to be on this webinar, and then an AP exam but got scheduled right on top of this at the same time. So they recorded some videos for us that we're going to include in here as well. So none of us are here, but this is a picture of Common Ground, our campus. We're on 20 acres of city parkland at the base of Forested State Park in the city of New Haven. And we have an urban farm on school grounds and a couple of different buildings that form a campus there. And so our place is a really precious part of what we do and creates lots of learning opportunities for our students. Common Ground's environmental justice themed high school embedded within a community environmental organization. So we run a charter school, and we also run an urban farm and community environmental ed center, all under the same community nonprofit. And we're gonna share a little bit of work with you that we've done related to our Green Jobs program, and also step back from that a little bit to talk about our work to create flexible pathways for students. So this is our mission. And I'll leave that up on the screen as I say that this is the way that we achieve this mission is through active, authentic learning. that's rooted in our place, a farm and a forest in a city, and a local, and that's also rooted in justice. And this mission, from the very beginning, from the time that Common Ground came to our campus in 1997 and opened our high school, has always included youth employment opportunities for our students as part of the mix. I feel like we've found that youth employment is a really rich opportunity for learning and leadership development. And so Common Ground students have had paid job opportunities almost since the beginning of the school. But for a while, those were just standalone opportunities that were a little bit disconnected from students' classes, from the rest of their experience. And starting in 2010, we turned those experiences into more of an integrated program. So the students had worked for a long time on our farm and our community environmental programs, but we began to connect with community environmental groups where they could get paid environmental jobs working for those local environmental organizations. And we also put those green jobs opportunities in the context of some more wraparound supports in leadership and career development opportunities. So I'm going to turn it over to Crystal, who's the person who really runs that program, to tell you a little bit more about what that means in practice.
Hi, everyone. I'm Crystal Fernandez. I'm the Green Job Corps Program Manager at Common Ground. And on the screen, you'll see some students. You'll see our students working to remove invasive species with one of our partners, as well as working on senior projects on campus in the lower right-hand corner, as well as some students that are working on the farm this past summer on the upper right-hand corner. Green Jobs Corps connects young people with paid environmental jobs, career and leadership development opportunities, and the personal and academic supports they need to thrive. Core members work at Common Ground and at a number of community environmental organizations. We work with the Yale Urban Resources Initiative to plant trees, assist West River stewards in cleanups of the West River, and provide support for City Seeds farm markets. Our positive relationship with the New Haven Public School System has led to the growth of Common Ground's Connecticut School Years program, which now maintains school gardens at 23 schools in New Haven. For more than 75% of our participants, Green Job Corps offers a very first experience in paid work. It also provides an opportunity to make a real difference in the local community and environment. We operate our program by planning for the fall, spring, and summer seasons. These are paid and volunteer job opportunities that happen during the school year and over the summer. In the fall and spring, we have about 7 different crews with a size range of 2 to 12 placements. And these placements are 6 to 10 hours per week and last 10 to 12 weeks per season. During the summer, there are about 20 placements at about 25 hours per week for 5 weeks. Here to join us to talk a little bit more about their experience, we have some video from Darlene and Noor, and in person with us today, we have Anna. So
awesome. I'm gonna stop sharing for a second because I messed up on my share and forgot to click the button where it says share the sound. So you can actually hear these folks talk at the same time. Cool. So Nora is a senior in Green Jobs Corps, and hopefully you'll be able to see and hear her talk a little bit about her experience in Green Jobs Corps.
Hello, everybody. My name is Noor Fadil, and I am senior at Common Ground High School. My experience at Green Jobs Corps was like no other, honestly. I've gained so many skills. I've learned so many things that I didn't know I needed, honestly. One of them was self-confidence. So my first job ever was working at Kids Unplugged, which is basically an after-school program where you basically watch over little kids. And my first day, I was so scared, so nervous. Like, I didn't expect to be scared of little kids, honestly, but, you know, I was very nervous. I didn't have the skills to take care of them, what to bring to the table, you know. In the beginning, it was nothing. But then throughout the years, you know, I got confident. Like, these little kids don't scare me anymore. Like, you know, I was confident talking to them, playing around. Also, team building. I wasn't able to bring any ideas out and to help my team members, but then throughout, I started to help them out, see what was wrong and what should be worked on, you know? Yeah, that really helped me. And I feel like in the future, team building and self-confidence is one of the important things.
Cool. So we'll hear a little bit more from Noor later on, more about how this links into her career pathways. I'll try to go. And this is a few words from Darlene about her experience. She's a junior at Common Ground.
Hi, my name is Darlene, and I'm a junior at Common Ground. My experience with Green Jobs Corps is that it gives the students at Common Ground a wide variety of different job placements, and it's also a networking opportunity. So you would come across, me personally as a student working at Green Jobs Corps, I came across so many opportunities that really benefited me in my future. So Green Jobs Corps is just that opportunity for students to really go out in the world and they are faced with things that they might be faced with in their future.
And now we have in person, for real, Anna Reyes, who's also a junior and has had a bunch of different opportunities through Green Jobs Corps. So Anna, can you tell us a little bit about what you've been up to and what sort of transferable skills you feel like you've gained out of those experiences?
Yeah, hi, I'm Anna. I'm a junior at Common Ground, and through Green Job Corps, I was able to get my very first job working at Urban Richness Initiative, planting trees for a nonprofit organization all through New Haven. And I worked 2 seasons, and I was able to work with random kids from another school, and I was able to build team working skills and problem solving skills, because we would always come across things that we didn't know how to do. But together as a team, we were able to come up with solutions. And these were kids that I had no idea who they were, what their last name was, but we sure did come up with solutions to the problem. And because of the skills that I had gained there, I had worked 2 seasons on farm crew after, and my second season, I was offered the opportunity as assistant farm manager, which meant that I was able to lead my fellow classmates and peers on the farm to tackle other skills and problems together. So I gained so many opportunities and so many skills that I'll be able to take with me to whatever job I have after high school. So yeah.
So I hear in what you're saying, Anna, and in what Darlene and Noor shared, like lots of talk about these are environmental jobs, but these are skills that are of that matter in any workplace. And I feel like that's one of the lessons for Green Jobs Corps of me, that these are environmental opportunities and many of our students are curious about environmental careers. But so much of what you all are up to is relevant anywhere. I feel like one of the challenges when people look at Common Ground is also that it feels like far away. It feels unattainable. It feels like I look at pictures of Ryder's campus and I'm like, is this for real? Like, is this what high schools look like? And I do want to emphasize that, like, the sorts of paid work opportunities that Green Jobs Corps is creating, I feel like are transferable to lots of different settings. You do not need to have a 20-acre campus. You do not need to have an urban farm in order to create meaningful paid work opportunities that are integrated into students' learning experiences. So we're going to step back a minute from Green Jobs Corps. So Green Jobs Corps started in 2010, just like 3 or 4 years ago. I think we took a step back as a school and looked at our students' 4-year experience and asked ourselves, are we helping students travel pathways over all 4 years of high school that are preparing them for college and careers, for leadership and learning, and realized that we could do a better job of sort of having an integrated 4-year approach to that work that includes interdisciplinary learning experiences in 9th and 10th grade, lots more choice and out-of-school opportunities for juniors and seniors, a leadership portfolio system that ties all those pieces together. And Green Jobs Corps is a really important part of that, but needs to be part of an overall 4-year approach. Crystal, do you want to talk for a second about how career pathways in particular fit into that?
Sure. So we're in the process of developing a 4-year progression for career exploration to support the flexible pathways model. As you can see in the chart, this 4-year progression has a clear focus and helps students to answer essential questions at each stage of the process in developing their pathway. So starting with their freshman year, we're really focusing on self-awareness. Who am I as a learner and as a leader? How do I fit in my community? What skills do I need to survive and really thrive in school? And how can I communicate effectively with others? Definitely, doing a personality assessment, identifying strengths and weaknesses, figuring out how do I fit on this team as a colleague, and definitely having students try to participate in Green Job Corps as volunteers. That's their first experience with Green Job Corps, offering voluntary positions, whether it's tending the animals or working on the farm or even helping out with our community programs such as the Kids Unplugged that was mentioned earlier. Sophomore year, we're really looking at career awareness and goal setting. We do a career assessment, and using that career assessment, students are identifying potential careers that they might be interested in, and to learn about the growth of that particular career and the earning power of that career. We're asking our students to identify what problems they want to solve and how can they connect that to a career pathway that they want to pursue, as well as support themselves financially. Junior year, we're encouraging our students to have work experiences, whether it's with Green Job Corps, with an internship with one of the classes that are on campus or somewhere off campus, that aligns with their goals, as well as something that's outside the box to help them really develop their skills. This helps them to determine what they like, what they don't like, learn what it is to be part of a team and how to manage multiple priorities and projects, right? Because we're learning what it is to be in the workplace, but what it also means to be a student that's combining those two things. We also do a thing called career networking. So we invite professionals from all different kinds of backgrounds. Last year, we had a speed networking event where we had 20+ professionals come in, and we broke them down into fields. And in each classroom was a particular career cluster, and students who identified particular careers were placed in that cluster, and they were able to rotate, kind of like speed dating style, but speed networking style. And they were able to meet with different professionals and learn about their career pathway, what education they had, and ask their questions. And later we were able to have a luncheon. This year we were not able to do that speed networking event. So what we're doing is a virtual career networking series where we have professionals come in and join us on Zoom for about an hour, and students jump in on Zoom and they learn about the career pathway and they're connecting that way. So that's actually open to sophomores and juniors, actually the whole school this year, and really starting that career exploration process sooner is, we're finding, is much better. In their senior year, we're really focusing on post-high school planning and transition, and helping students to really look at where was I when I was a freshman here at Common Ground, and where am I now? And how much have I grown, and how much more growing do I need to do, and what's next for me? And so working on, transition planning, and what are my goals, and what do I need to do to support myself financially, and what is my mission statement after Common Ground, right? And then moving forward from there is where we kind of help them in the post-high school process, like after they transition from school, from Common Ground, is to continue to support them in their freshman year with making sure that they have everything they need and the supports that are in place so that they're successful in their first year of college or whatever post-secondary plan they have.
Cool. So I'm conscious of time, so I'm happy to share some really sweet videos from Darlene and Noor talking about our portfolio system, which is a really important part of what we do, and Darlene talking about her pathway and how she's strung together college experiences. But we have you on the line, Anna, and so I want to privilege your voice a little bit. And because we're running short on time, go straight to you to talk a little bit about, like, what is this path for your pathways work looked like and meant for you?
So Darlene in her video talks about the student choice that we have in our school. And so once you become an 11th grader junior year, you have the opportunity to take internships, college classes, different electives, which kind of builds on your path. And so my junior year, I was able to build off of my previous experiences. I was able to become a TA, in which I was able to help underclassmen learn about different things, and I learned about my love for teaching and advocacy for younger people, and that made me realize that, one of my pathways, I want to go to school for education, but my sophomore year, I had experience in an internship in where I was able to devise a project for more arts in schools because that's also one of my pathways. And so through the student choice that I had with the option of becoming TAs or internships or doing different projects with community members, I was able to learn that no matter what you do, you don't have to stick to one pathway. You can do different things. And so that's one of the great things about pathways. Because of student choice, you have the opportunity to do multiple things.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Anna.
Yeah, thank you.
So 2 quick points in closing. One, I think one of the things that's most important about Common Ground's Pathways story are the roles that students have played, not just in shaping their own pathways, but in defining how the school thinks about pathways. So students have taken on a bunch of paid roles, both designing new course offerings that we've created and credit-bearing internships where they've helped define the 4-year journey that students take, and empowering students in that way to be like authors of the school model that they're part of, I think has been a really critical piece. And I'm sure that all of us are trying to figure out like, what does this work look like in distance learning mode? And so I'm really excited to say that we've been able to continue Green Jobs Corps in a small way, even in the midst of the COVID epidemic, and have students playing critical roles in providing food to people who need it in this moment. And just to demonstrate that this does put people on long-term pathways to success, here is Crystal when she was my student at Common Ground in 2003, monitoring air quality out in the city of New Haven. And I feel so lucky to have her back with us now as part of our team. Growing another generation of environmental and community leaders. So this work does have a long-term trajectory. So thanks for coming back, Crystal, and thanks for being with us, Anna. And I'll turn it back to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you, Joel, Anna, Crystal, and your team there for sharing. You can just leave it on that slide if you want, Joel, a second. And Crystal, I just have a question for you. If you could just go into a little bit more detail around what are your hopes going forward? Where do you see the work that you're doing at Common Ground? What's that leading to, or what are you growing next? What's that next developments there?
Sure. Yeah. So what we're hoping to do is to create more opportunities, additional paid opportunities for young people that are off campus and with additional organizations. We're actually excited about including a social justice component where students have paid and credit bearing opportunities where they can explore careers in social justice as well. So we're hoping to provide a variety of placements for students that meets their needs and their desires as well. So definitely continuing in environment, but environment in such a way that it is inclusive of the issues that we're facing today.
Thank you. Anna, this is a question for students that some folks have brought up for Anna or Caden. Just recognizing what's happening in our world and taking advantage of the pathway that you've had opportunity with Anna and Caden, some of the work that you've done there at Whitefish. What kind of recommendations might you make for other schools or districts that are thinking about doing something like this?
Okay, I think I'll go. My advice would be, I think you should give the students the opportunity to go out in the world and experience different things. Because when you give students the opportunity to like pursue something that they might be curious about, that could be someone in the community that really makes a difference. And, students learn by experiencing things. They don't just learn by, seeing things or reading things. Experience is what really matters. So I'd say it would be worth a shot.
Cool. Thank you, Anna. Caden, are you there? Do you want to add anything to
that? Yeah, I'm here. And yeah, I guess I'll just say I completely agree. I think, just compared to other ways of learning, to actually getting out there and doing, actually having the experience of doing it in real life is huge. And so I think that's just the most important thing, getting real world experiences like in trips and things like that.
Awesome. I want to, because of our audience size, we're going to give a little bit more opportunity for you all to ask any questions. So if anybody is out there that wants to ask a question to one of the students, I'm giving you all talking privileges. So you feel free to unmute yourself and you can ask a question to one of our panelists. Feel free, or students. As we're waiting for, Ryder, you want to jump in? No?
Not necessarily, more just getting ready if in case anything came my way.
Okay. Yeah.
No, I mean, I guess there was one thing that did come to mind, and that was as the students responded. Those of you who work in your organizations, I do think it requires a certain level of courage to be able to step outside of some of the bureaucratic boxes. It's terrifying for me as an administrator to take on the risk of flying kids to a different place and what might happen and what might not happen and so forth. And then the financials and, but I think what's important to the experiences that both Joel and I have articulated is it works itself out. It's gonna be okay. And it's well worth it. And I think so many teachers and so many administrators are so adverse to not having a controlled environment that they don't take those chances. And, as we heard from the students, that's what they need. That's how they will flourish. And so I think it's incumbent upon us, and it's a plea to all of you to be courageous and step outside the box and try something different. And that was just some piece of guidance on my side. Thank you.
I love that. Good advice, Ryder. I appreciate that.
There's a question in the Q&A about how long is it taking to achieve 25% energy reduction? I'm guessing that's a question for you too, Ryder.
Yeah, it's going to take a very long ass time. No, and I mean, I'm naive and arrogant, and it's a horrible combination when it comes to most things. And so, when this was first devised, I'm like, no problem, we got this. And I recognize that, it's a journey, and at this point, we have all of our third graders on board to do the education program. And from third grade, we can spread it from there. And so I think it's these incremental steps. We have a goal of 5 years, and we have an energy management plan that supports that 5-year timeline. With that said, there's a lot of cultural practice that needs to be brought in and slowly integrated. So part of that is only done on a relational basis. And the important part of that is it can't live with the person driving it. It has to become systemic. It has to become embedded. And that just takes time. So, taking a step back from my own agenda, I recognize that if we can show progress and growth on an annual basis, that will be the goal. And so, eventually we'll get there.
Cool. Well, that's such a good point, Ryder, and maybe that's a good one for us to end on if we don't see any more or hear any other questions. It's just the recognition that this is a process and we're all in this journey and we're in it together. It's so great to have Anna and Caden on as students representing how our young people are being impacted and affected by good work that yourself is doing, Crystal, that you're helping facilitate, Ryder, and that you're coordinating too, Joel. I want to thank you for being on as panelists and for sharing some of this and being an inspiration to all those that are not only a part of this call, but might see the recording later. Your hard work is appreciated, and I want to just express my gratitude and hope that you can continue to keep up the good work. Those of you that have been on today, thanks for spending some time with us. we're almost at our time, so we'll close it here. Thanks for connecting with us. And if you want to make connections with Joel and Crystal or Ryder, feel free to reach out to them. They're very accessible and would be glad to answer questions, or feel free to reach out to me at the Green Schools National Network. Thanks you all, and have a good rest of your day.